Next up, I have the wonderful honour to introduce Dr. Malie Coyne, a clinical psychologist, a member of PSI. She has amazing, unique understanding of Generation Z and has written extensively for Lust for Life, a website. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Malie Coyne.
Hi, so it's great to speak to all of you. My presentation today is on mastering exam stress. My name is Malie Coyne, and I'm aware, I suppose, of the unique challenges that you face. You're kind of in the middle of being in the stage. You're not a child, you're not an adult, but you're kind of getting there, and there are a lot of pressures in terms of exams, having to get to the next level. And stress is something that you're actually going to encounter all of your life. So it's really good to try to get on top of it now. Can I just ask the audience members, have you ever experienced stress when it comes to an exam? Can you just put up your hands if you have? Okay, so quite a number of you have. And would you say to me, do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing? If you just shout out, bad? Okay. Well, I suppose today I just want to change your minds a little bit about that. We do know exams are an unfortunate reality of life. We wish that they weren't there and, continuous assessment would be much better. But at the end of the day, we just have to go with the reality of it. But, schools should be looking more at, prioritizing well-being, and I think they are starting to, but we have to kind of deal with the reality of it. And feeling stressed before exams, what you have felt before exams is totally normal. It's the fight or flight response of your body. So what happens is when you're faced with a challenge, just like if you were a caveman, I don't know how many thousand years ago, you're faced with a challenge, that challenge, the thought goes straight to your brain, to the worry part of your brain, and then it releases these chemicals that make you either fight out or flight, which is run away. And, usually we can see that as a negative thing, but what I'm going to say to you today is that it's not necessarily a negative thing, and this fight or flight response can actually help you with the stress of exams. There are crafty ways you can learn to perform well at exams. And I wrote a series of articles with Lust for Life. Have you heard of Brezzi and A Lust for Life? And he asked me to write a course a few months ago about exam stress, because he thought that was really important for both junior and Leaving Cert students. And the way I looked at it, I picked that picture as kind of the front of my course, because I thought, you know what? Lust for Life is all about physical, exercise, holistic well-being. Approach the marathon of exams like an athlete. So how do you do that? Well, look at this stress curve. So there is such a thing as too little stress. When your parents are saying, oh God, that my kid doesn't care and they're not anxious at all or whatever, that's probably too little, the green part. What we kind of want you to have is maybe the optimum level of stress, which is the yellow part there. When it gets to the orange part, it gets a little bit too much. And then when it gets to the red, you've got the anxiety, the panic, the anger, that kind of thing. So we want to try to stick to the optimal level, and I'll show you how. So in terms of what happens to your brain, and I know you're here, you're away from school, you don't really want to be talking about the brain right now, but just briefly, it does hit, the challenge hits you in terms of your amygdala, which is your worry command center of your brain, and that's closely connected to the hippocampus, which regulates your memory and your emotions. And then it weakens as it goes to the prefrontal cortex, which is actually the area of the brain when you're a teenager, which is the least developed. It's not fully developed yet. That's what makes you do things without thinking. And that's why we kind of look at teenagers and go, well, why do they do things without thinking? Well, that's because that area of your brain isn't fully developed yet, so it's not your fault. So basically, if there's too much stress, the signal to the amygdala goes a lot quicker, and if there's too much stress, it might impact on your memory. But I'll just look at, so stress can actually feel more stressful to teenagers, because you've all these challenges, I guess, It increases the activation in the already, as I said, not so developed prefrontal cortex. And this can interfere with your ability to make decisions. What you can do is lower your stress by thinking through the consequences of your actions. So you know how it goes first to the amygdala, which is like the worry command center. If you actually try to engage the front part of your brain and try to think through your actions and to kind of do what I'm kind of suggesting you do, then you can actually reduce the impact of the stress. And you can ask yourself, how does this action, whatever actions you have, line up with my long-term goals? But I'll talk about that in a sec. So stress is directly related to how out of control you feel. And in order to take control of your stress, there's a really good TED Talk, if you're into watching TED Talks. It's this woman called Kelly McGonigal, and it's kind of a bit of a silly title. It's like Make Stress Your Friend, because it's real American. But anyway, what she's saying is that choosing your perspective on stress is really important. There was a study done in the United States where they looked at 30,000 people over an 8-year period, and they found that they had, they tried to kind of see what levels of stress they had. Those that had a positive outlook on stress were less likely to die or to have negative effects on their health than those that had a negative view on stress. So in other words, if you start to see, when you're stressed out and you start to feel, what happens when you're stressed? Your heart starts beating fast, you might start to hyperventilate. If you kind of start to see those signs as being as welcoming those signs as signs that are going to help you to deal with the challenge ahead, that can actually help you. Like before I came on today, obviously I had a degree of, feeling a bit nervous. Well, you have to try to, I suppose, learn how to channel that. And there are many ways to skin a cat. I know at the moment you're being pressured by teachers, by your parents, by everybody around you. You've got to get a good job, and you've got to do this, and you've got to do that. And I know it's easy for me to say, kind of as an older person, there's many ways to get where you want to go. But I promise you this, there are so many ways, and there's people like as old as me that are still changing career and that still, are looking for what they love in life. So just to kind of keep perspective on that. And then what I did for the course, I wrote a 5-week course where I broke stress down and we tackled each part. So the first part was the body, kind of looking at how stress affects your body. And then we looked at the mind, worrying, that kind of thing, behavior, insomnia, loss of appetite, emotions, the kind of thing stress does to your emotions. In terms of your body is the vehicle to your dreams. So really, even if you can just look after this part, and for parents, if there's any parents in the audience, that this is the part that you can really help your teenagers with, because if you recharge your battery with sleep and try to kind of really mind your sleep prior and during exam time, that can really help. We've all done all-nighters, believe me. I've set my alarm for 20 minutes later. I know I've done it. But if you could try to even just build up on sleep before the exams and try to get as much as you can. As Brezzi said in his book, he talked about using the gut being a second brain, so it being important. I know it's really tempting to eat 10 bags of Maltesers and drink liters of Coke, but really it's not actually going to do your body the best. So refueling with brain food and reducing the amount of toxins is really important as well. Obviously treats are fine, but it's just trying to kind of eat good brain food. And I have that all in the articles. Release endorphins through exercise. If you're looking at the 2 most powerful weapons to combat stress, it's exercise and mindfulness. Mindfulness is the relaxation part. You also release endorphins in your body through having close relationships and making sure that you're close with other people. And taking breaks and chillaxing is very important as well. Just in terms of choosing your perspective, if you say the situation was you had an exam tomorrow and your thought was, I did well on my mocks, so I can do well again. If your thought was really positive, what would your feeling be? Calm, bring it on. If I was thinking to myself, I can't wait to do this talk, I'd be feeling calm and good about it. If you were to think, oh God, I'm going to fail my exams tomorrow, I'm so dead, what's your feeling going to be? Not good, okay. So as Ali would have said, the late Ali, if my mind can conceive it and my heart can believe it, then I can achieve it. So I was going to do a little visualization with you if we had time, but just to let you know that visualization is one of the 7 secrets to studying. There's a really good article if you Google it. I actually have slides today that I can leave behind. I have a few handouts. The 7 secrets to studying, and visualization is one of them. It's brilliant. A positive attitude and looking at stress in a positive way accounts for 1/3 of your success. And psychologically preparing yourself for success can lead to real success. And you need to approach exams like a professional athlete, which is like looking after your body, your mind, the different aspects of yourself. So just in terms really briefly of a visualization, because I just want to give you a 2-minute example of what one is like, okay? I'm just going to ask you to begin by becoming very relaxed. Find a naturally relaxed sitting position, an open posture, Your hands resting in your lap or at your sides, your legs uncrossed and your head balanced in a neutral position. Start to relax your body. Take a deep breath in, hold it gently, and let it out. Keep breathing naturally, and with each breath you become more and more relaxed. Now you begin to visualize the process of taking an exam. Imagine yourself on the day of the exam. You are feeling a little excited to take the exam and share what you know. At the same time, you are feeling confident. You imagine walking calmly into the room where the exam is going to be. You say, "When I get to my seat, just think about the situation, not my anxiety." Now the exam is in front of you. You are scanning over the entire exam calmly and confidently. You discover that you already know something about each answer. You feel relaxed, happy. You start to organize your time. You say, "I will think rationally and not allow my anxiety to take over. I've done well on exams before. Breathe and relax. So I'm ready to rise to meet this challenge, and it's time for me to show the examiner what I know." So that's kind of the idea behind a visualization. So it's kind of like, gearing yourself up in your mind for what an exam would be like. And I have actually an audio on the course that might be of interest to you. In terms of what gives your life meaning, it's important. I did a slot on the radio before on what gives your life meaning in terms of happiness and well-being. And if you align your daily activities with things that you most value in your life, it will increase your happiness, that's for sure. If you set meaningful goals, paddle your own canoe. So you are unique. You are the only person with your life, with your circumstances, with who you are. So it's important for you to paddle your own canoe. And to ask yourself, is your behavior, is everything you're doing on a daily basis serving your goals where you want to be? And finding your passion and working on what you love is your ticket to happiness and well-being. And that, I promise you, is the truth, because I feel that now, finally, and I'm like 40, so it's taken a while, but it's wonderful. And don't strive for progress, not perfection. If you strive for perfection, it'll increase pressure, stress, and then, have an impact on your performance. There's no course or career worth damaging your health for. And it's important to work hard for your dreams, because there's many, many ways to get there. And finally, this is what I wrote for Lust for Life. Exams don't measure your true intelligence, creativity, and future success, and not a measure of you as a human being. They are part of the game of life, which you have to get through, and then you have your whole life to figure out what your passion is and to carve out your own path. So in terms of resources, there's a brilliant book called The Relaxation Stress Reduction Workbook, Manage Your Stress for a Happier Life, and obviously the Lust for Life exam course, and then I have a website, drmaliecoyne.ie. Thank you so much.